Here we go, episode 140 of The Hardline. Michael Merlo, John Michael Masiri here with you. Welcome in to our 2024 NFL preview show. JM, one of the better shows of the year.
Yes, 100%. It's here, man. The wait is over. It's been a long off season, as it always is in the NFL. But finally, we're in season, man.
We're in season. It's a game week.
It's game week.
I mean, if we were on the Chiefs or the 49ers, that's it. It's game week.
It's game week.
They're preparing. We're preparing, and we're going to give you everything. So we're going to go through each division, going to give you some records. We're going to give awards. We're going to give you the conference championships, and then the Super Bowl, all in the next hour, hopefully. Mm-hmm. We have a fantasy football draft, a big one tonight. Very excited for that. Good luck to everybody who has drafted or hasn't drafted yet as you get set for your fantasy football season.
Just want to let everybody know, if you don't want to know exactly what happens in the NFL season, don't watch this episode because these predictions, at least mine, are going to be identical. Perfect. Every record, every award, the Super Bowl winner, everything down to the wire.
That's absolutely crazy. Yeah. A couple of things that I had spoke to John about a couple of days ago. I was like, I'm kind of going off of those things.
Did you just call me John?
Yeah, I was going to call you Mike.
What the hell?
I was never called him John.
I was like, who's John?
I was going to call you Mike.
Damn, bro. You're like one of my teachers.
Because we've been calling JM Mike. And I was like, I know nobody's understand Mike.
All right, well, so maybe you just started the next trend. Maybe John is the next thing.
If I call him Mike, just know I'm talking to him.
Yeah.
I'm not talking to myself.
Okay.
But either way, a couple of things I had thought in my head. I was like, you know what? Let's use the brain. Actually,
but it sounds like you're second guessing yourself.
No,
you're not going with the gut.
And I'm not second guessing the big things, the bold predictions from last week. Those hot takes, those stayed the same.
Yeah,
I had it right where I thought it was going to be. So it'll be very interesting. JM, let's start in the AFC East. This will be controversial, I think. The AFC East. Give us your order and the records.
All right, so no surprise here. I think this is maybe the easiest last place finisher. I got the Patriots with the worst record in the AFC and actually tied for the worst record in football at 3-14. Not much to be said there. It's going to be a lost year. The only thing the Patriots should look forward to is hopefully you see something out of Drake May. Mm-hmm. Now, are we given if they're going to make the playoffs?
Not yet.
The seedings? Okay. So, third place, I have the Buffalo Bills at a record of 10-7. We talked about the Bills a couple of times. They're missing some pieces on that defense. They lost Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis. They're missing some offensive weapons. I think Allen's going to do enough to bring this team to a 10-7 record. Second place, Miami Dolphins, 11-6. I'm really starting to come around on the Dolphins recently. That offense, especially early, is going to come out firing. We know about them playing down the stretch, cold weather. That's something we still need to see if they're going to be able to pull it off. But something about this Dolphins team is that defense, actually. That defense is a lot better than I think some people realize. The only thing is, can that defense stay healthy? They've had some health issues over the past couple of years. And in first place, call me a homer, call me what you want. But at 12-5, I got the New York Jets winning this division. I have this coming down to week 18 when the Jets play the Dolphins at home. That'll be the game for the division. I have the Jets winning that game, obviously, winning the division. I think the sky's the limit for this team as long as they stay healthy. Man, that's my AFC East.
So as much as I thought we were going to have a lot of the same picks, we start off very, very differently, which
I don't know, Mike. We'll see as we go on.
I'm happy about.
You're telling me you made some changes, so we might be a little different.
Okay, you're right about that. All right, here we go. I have the AFC East in last place. You mentioned it, the easiest last place team. I had them 2-15. The Patriots, a brutal season, no offensive line. I don't even know when they're going to be able to get Drake May in there. Mm-hmm. In third place, I had the Miami Dolphins at 8-9.
Wow.
I'm not a believer in the Dolphins this year at all. I do believe that Vic Fangio kind of wasn't the right fit there last season. You hear a lot of defensive players on that team talk about that. So I do agree with you that their defense might be a little bit better this year. I just think they're going to take a step back a little bit everywhere else. Not a fan of the Dolphins this year.
Clearly not.
And
Wow.
they hurt me last year.
Obviously, they're not making the playoffs with that record.
No, they will not be making the playoffs. In second place in the AFC East, I have the New York Jets at 11-6. You mentioned it. The sky's the limit. This team could very easily win this division. I think the division is going to come down to a late game in I forget what month, but when
December.
the Jets go there to play in Buffalo, I think the winner of that game is probably going to win this division.
Yeah.
That's how I had it playing
Jets
out here.
at Bills is week 17.
Yeah, so I think that Week 17 game is going to decide the AFC East. I had the Bills winning it at home. I gave the Jets the first one at home. But you mentioned it. If this team's healthy, they have one of the best the top three defense in the league. The offense, who knows what can happen if the offensive line stays healthy. With Breece Hall behind that offensive line, they're going to be amazing. And then obviously, I didn't even mention Aaron Rodgers with a really good run game and a couple of really good receivers. The sky's the limit. But at 11-6, I have them. Because not everything goes perfect.
Yep.
We know that.
Okay.
And finally, in first place, Buffalo Bills, 12-5. We'll talk more about the Bills later, but I do have the Bills coming in first. I love the
I don't
Buffalo
like
Bills
that.
this season.
I don't like that foreshadowing. I don't like the let's talk about the Bills later. That means you have them going far, and I don't like that.
We have the Bills going
Um,
far.
Yeah, man, you haven't hid at all that you're really high on the Bills this entire offseason. We've been talking about them a lot, and me and you are clearly at a difference. And listen, I gave them a 10-7 record. I didn't give them, some pathetic record here.
You didn't give them 8-9 like the Miami Dolphins.
I didn't give them 8-9. I did not give them 8-9. I guess we're both believers in Josh Allen, the talent. I think you're just a little bit more of a believer in how this team's going to hold up with some of those pieces missing.
Yeah, there's a couple of things I like about that Buffalo defense. I think not enough people are talking
And listen,
about.
I will come to their defense a little bit. Some of those defensive players that we're talking about that are missing, like a Tre'Davious White or a Micah Hyde or a Jordan Poyer, a little towards the tail end of their careers, especially like Tre'Davious White now with that injury he had. And, he is getting a little bit up there in age. And a guy like Micah Hyde, sometimes I think it could be a little over-exaggerated, but I don't like that defense and, the offensive weapons and everything on paper. I just don't think the team is strong enough on paper to win this division, but
they
that's
brought
what
in
I-
Rasul Douglas last year, right? He
played very
for
well.
them.
Yep.
Christian Benford played well last year. when
DeMar
he-
Hamlin's starting, though.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a problem. They drafted this kid Cole Bishop in the second round last year. Hopefully he starts to see some playing time as the season goes on. I agree with you, safeties, where you have the biggest issue. They also already lost Milano to a torn bicep.
Yep.
I don't know if that's a season or not.
It's close to it.
It's close to
They're
a
hoping
season.
he's going to be back later in the year, but very late.
That happened a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
But let me just say this, and we kind of spoke about this earlier with the Ravens was that last week, where they had all that injury luck last year, where they really didn't get healthy. I mean, they really didn't have
Get hurt.
much injuries. I think like the opposite can happen for this Buffalo team. They had so many guys go down last year,
Right.
so many. So even though you lose Milano early, maybe the injury luck kind of stays on their side this year.
Okay.
We'll see.
Yep.
AFC North,
All right, the AFC North. A very, very competitive division.
tight division.
Tight division. So, this was one of your bold predictions last week. I agreed with it. Last place breaking the Mike Tomlin streak. The Pittsburgh Steelers at 7-10. In third place, I have the Cleveland Browns at a record of 9-8. In second place, I have the Baltimore Ravens at a record of 11-6. And in first place, the Cincinnati Bengals at 12-5. And I want to lead off with talking about this Bengals team because, we have this tendency as football fans to get bored in the offseason and try to read between the lines and make things bigger than they have to be. And this whole thing that Trey Wingo tweeting that there's bad vibes in the Bengals locker room, the fact that that is literally changing people's minds on the Bengals and this Jamar Chase holdout and making people think that the Bengals have this stink around them and they're not going to be very good this year, I think it's just silly. Chase is going to be back. He might even miss week 1. He'll be back with this team at some point, and they're going to get rolling. They're healthy. Joe Burrow is healthy. This defense is going to be better than I think some people think. I like this Bengals team, Merlo. They have one of the best offensive lines that they've had maybe ever with the Joe Burrow era.
Call me silly. Call me silly. I took them out of first place because of that. Call me silly.
Wow. That's a
It's
bad
very
look.
close.
That's tough, man.
It's very
Listen,
close.
I respect you a lot. just lost a little bit. A little hint of respect. Just a little bit.
Call me silly. Yeah, I see it. I do see what you're saying with, the play overall. Like, yeah, their offensive line, I was reading before, it's ranked higher than it usually is. I think it was in the top 7 or 8 offensive lines going into the year. I love Joe Burrow. He's, there's what's not to love about Joe Burrow. He's a top 5 quarterback when he's healthy.
Yes.
But
I mean, this is one of those divisions where every year it seems like a new team is gonna be at the top.
Yeah.
And it's highly competitive. Listen, I'm not a big believer in Watson. That's the reason why I give the Browns that 9-8 record. I think the Browns undoubtedly have one of the best all-around rosters in the league. I just think quarterback play, they're going to fall short. I think they have one of, at least the second worst, if not the worst quarterback in this division. The Steelers, we've talked about, not believers in the quarterback, not believers in the offense at all. But, I just see the Ravens kind of coming back down to earth after last year. You just mentioned the injury luck they had. They were, Lamar Jackson coming off an MVP season. Think he's going to come back down a little bit, and not crazy about their O-line. And I know the point you made last week, it's a valid point that they sort of feel like one of those teams where you trust their development to put out a great offensive line either way. And I think Lamar Jackson can make an offensive line look better regardless with how athletic he is. But, I doubt this team to trump the Bengals, man. I'm really high on the Bengals this year.
Well, I'm happy you agreed with my bold prediction from last week that the Steelers are going to have a rough year. The way I have this division shaping out, the Steelers 6-11 in last. In third place, the Browns at 8-9. In second, the Bengals 11-6, and in first, 11-6. It's just a tiebreaker. The Ravens 11-6 in first place. Yeah, I think. We talked about it last week when we brought up Ja'Marr Chase, like how it's just absolutely absurd that he is holding out for a new contract already. And there's also another player on this team that plays the same position that is due for a contract before he is, and that is T. Higgins. Like, I do think something like this can rub some players in that locker room the wrong way. Not that it's going to take anything away from their talent, but just inside the locker room, that could be an issue. Yeah. And I don't know, like it rubs me the wrong way to read that a week before the season. I think it's really weird that we have the coach coming out last week saying, yeah, he's going to be playing with us, and then he doesn't, and he has to retract the statement 24 hours later.
Right.
And then even today, he's out there saying, I don't know, it's day to day. Like, what's going on there?
I'm not sure, man. These holdouts are always just so shady. And, I think if we recorded this a week earlier, we'd probably be saying the same thing about the 49ers, and Trent Williams isn't even signed yet, but this whole Ayuk situation and what's going on over there, and, this could play into the locker room and whatnot. Now Ayuk is back, and everything just seemed to have gone quiet. So, like I said, I think once Chase signs this contract, which I think eventually he will, I think all of this is going to kind of go to bed.
We'll see what happens. There we go. So we disagree on the two top divisions in the AFC. I'm happy at least this is going this way. We're going south.
This is my favorite division that we're going to talk about
AFC
all
South.
day. I'll just get right into it. So in last place at a respectable 7-10, because I think that this team is getting a little too much disrespect, is the Tennessee Titans. I think the Titans are going to be better than people think. I think they're going to be solid. Obviously, 7-10 is nothing crazy, but I think Will Levis is going to have a decent year. They're going to air it out with Brian Callahan. We'll see how Calvin Ridley does. I think DeAndre Hopkins might retire after this year. But 7-10 Tennessee Titans. Third place at 9-8, I have the Indianapolis Colts. Richardson, I'm a believer in Richardson, the talent, and I really like Shane Steichen. I'm just not sure, the health is a problem for Richardson, and it goes back to high school, it goes back to college. This guy has had trouble staying on the field. So they do have a backup in Joe Flacco, who is probably the best backup in the league. Then again, you have to kind of restructure your entire offense with Joe Flacco versus Anthony Richardson. Second place, Houston Texans, 9-8. I'm not as high on the Texans, and we do this. I think you did the same thing. You went through the whole schedule predictor thing, right? We do this going through the schedule predictor and choosing the games week to week. And man, this Texans schedule, Like, nobody's talking about it. It's brutal. It is a brutal schedule. They play basically all the top teams in the NFL. And I think, we're reading really into the sexiness of this Texans team. And I think at the end of the day, we got to remember, what the best football teams do in the NFL, and that's win at the line of scrimmage and play good defense and run the ball. And, and obviously passing is a huge part of the game. But I don't see the Texans being good in enough aspects of the game to be a dominant team that some people are expecting them to be. And in first place, at 10-7, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars winning this division. Sort of seems like an unpopular pick.
Yeah.
I think we're getting the post-hype disappointment becoming an underdog now with the Jaguars. Everybody was on them last year, and they got a bad taste in their mouth, and they don't trust this team anymore. But I expect a bounce-back year for Trevor Lawrence. I expect a bounce-back year for this team in general. That defense, I think, is going to be very good. I think Travon Walker is going to cement himself as a very good, borderline all-pro edge rusher in this league. He had 10.5 sacks last year, very quietly. This is finally around. He's going into year 3 where he was a project coming out of school, and now I think the project is going to be ready to be presented. I like the Jaguars. I got them winning this division.
You really trying to convince me there. I had them just missing the postseason. But you're very convincing with the Jaguars, and you know how much I love Trevor Lawrence, and you know how much I like Doug Peterson over there.
Yep.
It's tough to not change it. I'm not going to, but I respect you.
Good receiver room, too.
It's a good receiver.
Gabe Davis, listen, I had that guy in fantasy last year, so I'm going to hate him forever because that was just the worst fantasy season of all time. But Brian Thomas is a sleeper for. He's not my pick, but he's a sleeper for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Christian Kirk is a very respectable receiver in this league. Evan Ingram, Travis Etienne, they got weapons all over.
They have weapons. No, I think Lawrence is going to have a good year.
Yep.
I'm confident that contract will say, oh yeah, that was good. And
Right.
I even saw this take top 5 MVP for T-Law. I don't think that's completely out of the question.
No.
So
If you said that last year, nobody would call you crazy.
right. Alrighty. The AFC South. I agree with you. A respectable 6-11 for the Titans. I don't think they're that bad. I think we're going to feel good about the Titans heading into next season. In third place, the Jaguars 9-8. In second place, the Texans 10-7. And winning this division, this is a Shane Steichen pick, 11-6. The Indianapolis Colts. I'm worried about Anthony Richardson for many reasons. I'm worried that he might not be able to stay healthy. I'm worried that maybe, we just haven't seen him play enough, even in college. He didn't play that much in college. And obviously, you mentioned, again, the injury risk is a serious concern dating back for a very long time. But I think they have a good offensive line, some decent weapons. They'll run the ball, and the defense is solid. And I love the coach.
Yeah.
I trust this coach so much. He almost got this team to the playoffs in his first year with Gardner Minshew. So I really trust Shane Steichen to get the best out of Richardson. Hopefully he can stay healthy. Behind a good offensive line, they win this division. They do some damage this year.
I just realized I have the Colts at 9-8, and I'm going to give a spoiler alert. They're in third place. I didn't have them making the playoffs. These poor Colts fans, if this happens, I mean, this is like how many years now where you're on the cusp of making the playoffs and you just fall short. I mean, it's brutal.
Well, they're gonna win the division.
Fans. Yeah,
They're going to win the division this
according
year.
to you, that's okay. That's okay.
The Jaguars, man. You were out on T-Law last year, I think.
I was out on T-Law.
You were out on T-Law.
I was out on T-Law, and now I'm in on T-Law. And I'm not in on T-Law in a huge way. But I think we're ignoring the rest of this team. Like I said, I think that front seven, they just brought in Eric Armstead. Now he's Josh Hines, Allen. Travon Walker, that is a hell of a defensive line. They have Foyesade Olokun, who's one of the best. Wow, that was nice.
That's good.
I think that was as close as it gets to proper pronunciation.
That's good.
He's one of the best tackling linebackers in the league. So, Mike, I like this Jaguars team. AFC West time.
Lead us.
Spoiler alert. Again, I think we're finally going to agree on a division winner here. So, in last place, hate this team. Hate everything about this team. Hate the coach. We'll always hate this team. The Denver Broncos at 4-13. With Bo Nix being the starter in his rookie season, not a lot of things to like about this team. Just bad. A lot of bad stuff. Third place, motivational speaker, head coach Antonio Pierce and his Las Vegas Raiders. I got them going 7-10. So not a competing for the first overall pick like Merlot said last week. I'm a little higher. We'll see where you have them. Second place, I gotta put some of this hype to bed about this Chargers team. I got them going 8-9. I'm seeing a lot of big time analysts on these shows having them as a wild card team, and to me, it's just like we've seen Jim Harbaugh coach in the NFL before. He's had some success. He's had some failures. I think the belief that he's just going to come in because he won the national championship with Michigan last year and he's going to bring in this running philosophy and this win the line of scrimmage, like it's going to take time to build. And I don't think in his first year he's going to be able to lead this Chargers team to the playoffs. So I got them 8-9. And then first place at 14-3, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, that's a very strong record for them. I think the Chiefs are going to be back to being the dominant regular season Chiefs. We didn't see that last year, a little bit of a rocky road. This team is going to be really good, I think. I mean, I think the only thing that was maybe their downfall last year was surprisingly the passing game with their, obviously, the best quarterback in the NFL, but the passing game wasn't great last year. They added some more weapons. I think they're going to air it out a little bit more this year, and I think they're going to be dominant again.
Yeah, we agree on the order there. We agree
Perfect.
on the order. I think Bo Nix will show a little bit, but 4-13 last place. There's not much on that roster, but I do think they might have their guy in Bo.
Yeah.
And third place, the Raiders 6-11. You mentioned it. Not a fan of Antonio Pierce. Not a fan of this team. They might have one of the worst quarterback rooms in the league. 6-11 for the Raiders. I agree with you. The Chargers' schedule early is weak, and it gets progressively harder. So I think they'll start off well. We'll be talking about them early. Wow, this team might be able to go to the playoffs, and they'll drop off towards the end of the year, just lacking talent on the outside. I do think they'll run the ball like Jim Harbaugh says. I think they'll be able to, with that offensive line, 2 really good tackles. They'll run the football. But, again, it's going to be difficult in year one with this roster basically being rebuilt for them to make the playoffs this season. I can't see that happening. And the Chiefs, the 1 seed in the AFC, 13-4. They add so much on the outside. Rashee Rice really stepped up towards the end of the year, became a big time player for them. Kelsey, I think Kelsey might be turning into that Rob Gronkowski towards the end of his career, where he's a productive player in the regular season, but he turns it on in the postseason, and that's all they need, especially with the additions they made to that wide receiver room. So they'll run the ball. The offensive line's good. Pacheco, after that season last year, it's hard to say he's not going to have a really good season going into this year. Confident in this team. There's not much else to say. They have the best coaching staff in the league. They're 13-4.
The speed is just crazy for this Chiefs team. I mean, there's speed all over the place. It's got to be a nightmare for these DBs.
It's tough. And for these DCs as well. Try and game plan for this team.
One last thing about the Chargers. Nobody's talking about how, Justin Herbert is not fully healthy. Why? We see it with the Bengals with Joe Burrow. Usually, when you're going into the year and your quarterback's health is already up in the air a little bit.
He's got the plantar fasciitis, right?
Usually.
I got that.
Usually that's, not a good thing.
Yeah.
That's not something you want to deal with.
It's not what you want.
Yeah. In the words of Joe Girardi.
Joe Girardi likes to say. All right, JM, let's top 7. Who are the playoff teams?
All right, Mike.
Give us the seeds here.
The playoff teams. The number 7 seed, the last wild card, I have the Buffalo Bills with a record of 10-7. The 6 seed, I have the Baltimore Ravens at 11-6. The 5 seed, I have the Miami Dolphins at 11-6. And then the division winners, 4 seed, Jacksonville Jaguars. 3 seed, at 10-7. 3 seed, the Cincinnati Bengals at 12-5. 2 seed, the New York Jets at 12-5. And the 1 seed, the Kansas City Chiefs at 14-3.
There we go, Mike. All right. My seeds, the 7 seed, the 10-7 Houston Texans. The 6 seed, the 11-6 Cincinnati Bengals. The 5 seed, the Jets at 11-6. The 4 seed, the Ravens, 11-6. The 3 seed, the Colts, 11-6. The 2 seed, the Bills, 12-5. And the 1 seed, as I mentioned before, the Kansas City Chiefs, 13-4.
So Who were your 8, 9, and 10? Who were your last 3 teams out?
8 was the Dolphins, 9 Jaguars, and 10 Browns.
Got you. So my 8 was the Texans, my 9 was the Colts, and my 10 was the Browns. So I stuck to my bold prediction. Texans missed the playoffs.
Did you have to adjust it a little bit when you were doing the schedule?
No,
or
no,
you
and
had 'em
I
out? You
mean,
had 'em out.
obviously, like you go into this schedule predictor with your own thoughts about these teams. So I was like, I don't really like the Texans to make the playoffs, but I didn't get to the end, and I was like, oh crap, I accidentally made them 12-5. Like, no, that was basically how it went.
9 and 8.
Yep.
Very interesting. All right, you want to give the conference championship here, and then we'll do the
Sure.
winner of that,
Sure.
and then we'll do it with the NFC as well, and then we'll give the Super Bowl after the NFC.
So my conference championship, it's not pulling up, but I remember it off the top of my head. I had the Jets going to Kansas City in the conference championship, and I have Kansas City making it back to the Super Bowl for the 3rd year in a row now, or 4th year in a row.
It's 3, I think.
3 years in a row. Kansas City Chiefs going for the 3-peat.
Interesting. I'd like to see what your household is like watching that
Yes,
game.
yeah.
That would be tough.
Let's just hope we get there.
My AFC championship, the Cincinnati Bengals go into Buffalo and they lose to the Bills. The Bills
For Christ's sake,
get
dude.
to the
Oh,
Super
get a
Bowl
grip.
as the 2 seed. We'll talk
Oh,
about the Bills
man.
more later.
God, he really did it. Oh, he's gonna have them win too. I know
Nobody
he is. I know
circles
he's
the
gonna have them
wagon
win.
like the Buffalo Bills,
That's
baby.
so brutal.
All right, JM. The NFC East, the NFC East, a very interesting division because nobody wins it back-to-back seasons, and I certainly don't have the team that won the division last year winning it this year.
Wow. Okay.
How about I start? You start AFC,
Go ahead.
I'll start
yes,
NFC.
yes, sir. You got it.
So in last place, my beloved New York Giants
Wow.
at 7-10. In third place, the Washington Commanders at a more respectable 7-10.
Okay.
The Cowboys at 8-9 in second place, and in first place, the Philadelphia Eagles at 13-4.
Wow.
I'm high on the Eagles, and I think it's because, and I know it's because, the coaching staff changes that they did make.
Yes.
Excuse me. Nick Sirianni is going to have no say, no power whatsoever, and the less Sirianni does, the better for the team. Vic Fangio, while he wasn't a good fit in Miami, I think is going to be a perfect fit here in Philadelphia. Kellen Moore is going to take this offense to new levels. I think he's going to be perfect for Jalen Hurts and these offensive weapons. And I just think, again, less Nick Sirianni, the better. The only thing that concerns me is the secondary. I do think the pass rush will be better this year. Jalen Carter, he lost the Rookie of the Year to Will Anderson. I think he's going to have a big-time season. So the secondary that worries me will get better as the year goes on with the younger guys, Quentin Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, finally getting more comfortable. But it might be a struggle early on for that secondary. But I do like this team to be the 1 seed in the NFC.
Wow.
I feel very good about the Eagles this year. And, yeah, the Giants,
Yeah.
you know, I was a little bit more optimistic, and now I'm not. Like, I just kind of see them being this 7-10 team where they'll start off really well. I think they're going to start off, and you're going to feel good about them because the schedule's a little light, and there are some winnable games. And then they're going to go down the tanker. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad at the end of the season. I really could pick out maybe 1 or 2 wins after I think they go to Germany. It's going to be bad.
And, you know, as much as it might pain Giants fans to hear right now, but you'll be maybe thankful in a year, maybe, you know, not be doing so hot this year could be a good thing because, you know, you could be in a position to draft a quarterback finally to replace Daniel Jones.
Bill
and kind of
Belichick will
start
be the
over.
coach of this team next year.
Okay.
I don't know.
All
We'll
right,
see.
Mike, we are going to have a difference in this division. So, in last place, I have the New York Giants at 4-13.
Wow.
I know it's a little harsh. It's harsh. But I do think the Giants are going to have a lackluster is definitely the word to use here for their offense. The front seven is going to be good. I think, you know, Thibodeau is a guy where he could really thrive now with Brian Burns on the other side and Dexter Lawrence coming up the middle. He could really finally become that, you know, 5th overall talent that you drafted him at. In third place, I have another respectable 6-11 Washington Commanders. I think Jaden Daniels is going to have a pretty solid rookie year. I think you're going to see some nice things. This team is just, a bit old. The defense, not great. So I really don't see them really making too much noise here. In second place at 9-8, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. Definitely not as high on them as you are. Came a little bit back down to earth. I was thinking about a week ago that I would have the Eagles winning this division. And the more I thought about it, the more I saw maybe some things that I wasn't too happy about. I think Jason Kelce leaving is going to be a bigger deal than people think. Now, there's this story, and it's true because it's come out of Jalen Hurts' mouth, that Jason Kelce was the guy who was identifying blitzes and coverages and things like that and making checks on the line. And that was something that he was really known for and really valuable for. And now he's gone. And Jalen Hurts said, it's been a tough adjustment for him, and he's going to have to learn that. So that was shocking to me and a little concerning. And I'm also just not crazy about this defense. I think this secondary is going to be terrible. I'll be honest with you. I think people are saying, oh, well, they drafted some young guys, and it might be better this year. I think those young guys could be solid players. I think Slay and Bradbury are going to be liabilities at this point. I really do. Bradbury already has become a liability. Darius Slay is not getting any younger. I think he's already shown signs of regressions, and I think he's going to continue to fall off that cliff. And my coming in first, and also the number one seed in the NFC, I have the Dallas Cowboys at a 12-5 record. I think the Cowboys, had a very, very questionable offseason. And while that is true, and they maybe didn't do things exactly the way we thought they should have, I still believe in this team, and especially believe in their defense, to be very good this year. I think we're reading a little too far into the silliness of the offseason, and I think that this team is still a very, very good team on paper. And I think Dak, in this year where he's probably pissed off and is going to want as much money as a quarterback can fathom, is going to go off this year. So I have them at 12-5 and winning this division.
Very interesting. 12-5.
12-5.
A legit first
and breaking the
team.
Streak of
Yes.
a new winner every year.
Very interesting. The Commanders have one of the worst defenses in the league, but I think there'll be something on offense, and I think they'll be an exciting watch.
Yeah.
What did you have them, 6-11?
6-11.
That's them 7-10.
Yeah.
I think they'll be interesting. We'll see what happens with them, though. The Giants 4-13. Like, I see the issues the Giants have. Their offensive line, apparently, by all accounts, has looked really good, especially in the joint practices with Detroit and the Jets, and just in practice in general against a good front seven that they're practicing against every day. So that is promising. I don't see the Giants like this 3 or 4 win team. Like I have seen people project, but I don't think they're a 500 team. I don't think they're a playoff team by any means. All right. The NFC North. Very interesting here. I had a little switch up.
Okay.
I had a little switch up.
Oh boy.
In last place, the Minnesota Vikings 7-10. In third place, the Bears 9-8. In second place, the Green Bay Packers 12-5. And in first place, the Detroit Lions 13-4. So I had the Packers in first basically all offseason. And then the last 2 days I really looked at this and I took a look at the Lions schedule. And the Lions schedule is very favorable to them because they're only playing 3 games outdoors.
Right.
And listen, they might lose those 3 games outdoors. But you look at this team, they keep Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator, which is huge because I do not trust Dan Campbell as far as I can throw him. So they're loaded on offense. Their offensive line is so good. Yep. They have great weapons. They run the ball so effectively. And the defense, they've added to the defense. It's not like they've neglected this. Yeah, if there's a weakness, it's the secondary, right? Maybe it's a little lack of pass rush, even though they have Aiden Hutchinson, who's very good and primed, I think. I mean, I see him. I was looking at the odds today for Defensive Player of the Year. He's like 6th or 7th on that list. So I don't necessarily agree with it, but Hutchinson should still have, obviously, a really good year. I like this team, regular season team. 13 wins is doable. The Packers... Like I like they're 12-5.
Yeah,
they're very good. It's just I think the schedule, the way it worked out for the Lions, having all these indoor games, that's big.
That is very big. Yeah. Well, they're a kind of team that they could play indoors or outdoors with that running game.
Yeah, but Goff can't play outdoors.
Yeah,
Goff scares the crap out of me outdoors.
Good point.
That's why it means so much.
Dude, before I even read my standings here, I'm glad that we're not matching up like I think this is actually the most differences we've had as long as we've been doing these.
Based on
shows.
last week, I thought we were going to be identical.
Yeah, and we're not.
not at all.
So last place, I have the Minnesota Vikings at 6-11. I think Darnold's actually going to have a pretty solid year, and I'm really hoping that he kind of has a revitalization for his career here, a resurgence. So I think they're going to be solid. It's a good situation. Justin Jefferson, I think, is going to have a really good year, no matter who his quarterback is. All right, third place, the Chicago Bears at 9-8. Second place, the Detroit Lions at 11-6, and first place, the Green Bay Packers at 12-5. You know, I'll go with the Bears first. We talked about how Caleb Williams is entering a situation that's very unique for a number 1 overall pick. It's not going to be a dumpster fire offense. He's got weapons all over the place. This offensive line should be pretty solid. The only questions I have is the coaching staff. That's the one thing I am concerned about. But I think Williams is going to be a really special player. He's got that magician act that a Patrick Mahomes has, that a Josh Allen has, a guy that could just improvise and make plays out of nothing. You talked about the Lions. Respecting the Lions here at 11-6. Really like them. I think last year was their year, to be honest. I think that was the year to do it. Unfortunately, they had that choke at the end. And Dan Campbell, I mean, this could go from sweet to sour really quick with Dan Campbell. It's over now. The fairy tale of, finally getting Detroit into relevancy. He did an amazing job. Credit to him and Brad Holmes. But it's real now. You are coming into the year with Super Bowl aspirations. And, if you go for it on fourth down and don't kick the field goals and do some sketchy decisions again and it doesn't work out, Dan Campbell's job could be in question.
And let's see what it's like to be the hunted now. The teams are going to be hunting you. You had a fantastic year. Should have been in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Like, teams are going to be coming after you this year. And the same thing with the Texans. You're be playing a lot of primetime games. Week 1 is Sunday Night Football against the Rams. Like, that's a big game. So I trust them. I trust this team. I think they're that talented. But it's going to be interesting to see them on the other side. They're not. Yes. They're no longer that underdog.
Yep.
Like, that's not a thing anymore.
Yep. And first place, the Green Bay Packers. Really like the Packers this year. I'm very high on Jordan Love. I think he's going to have a great year. He just got that extension. I think he's going to live up to it. I like the addition of Josh Jacobs. I think the Packers have, honestly, the A.J. Dillon injury might be a blessing in disguise, because I think Matt LaFleur's been a little scared to put a lot of the load on the one running back, and he's going to finally have to do it. Marshawn Lloyd's a backup. He's a guy where they see him as a bit of a project. He's a very talented running back, but he's not polished enough to be an every down player or even a reliable running back in this league yet. So I think Josh Jacobs is going to take on a lot of responsibility at running back. And this defense is young. It's exciting. Rashawn Gary could easily throw his hat into the ring of being a defensive player of the year candidate. He is otherworldly talented. The linebackers are the weak spot for this team. Luckily, in today's NFL, if you have a good defensive line, you have good corners, you should be all right everywhere else, no matter what. So I really like the Green Bay Packers this year, and 12-5, man. I'm loving me some Green Bay.
Loving them. Interesting division. One of the better divisions, at least for me, the best division in the sport. Very interesting there. The NFC South, the Panthers at a respectable 5-12. In third place, the Saints at 6-11. In second place, the Bucks at 7-10. And I told you last week, 1 or 2 seed. I had them as the 2 seed because of a tiebreaker. The Falcons at 13-4.
Holy crap!
I told you I like this team. They have the easiest schedule in the league.
You got 3 13-win teams in the NFC.
3 13 wins in the NFC.
Holy crap!
I can't wait for you. I can't wait for you to see the NFC West.
This is crazy, bro. You are all in on the Falcons.
All on the Falcons, and then you'll see what happens. The headphones keep ripping out of my ear when we get to the postseason. But
all right.
Really not high on the Buccaneers at all. 7-10, terrible.
Can I just? I'll let you go into these other teams too, but I just want to challenge you on this. Isn't it usually with a team like the Falcons where they really have it on paper and, they got some injuries that they're coming off of, but you really like, how the teams could maybe mold together? Isn't it like a bit of a rougher road in the regular season, maybe early on, and then it kind of progresses. They get stronger, like we saw with that Bucks team with Brady, where they started off rocky. Like you don't see that happening?
I think it could early in the regular season because the schedule it's the hardest in the regular season. Excuse me, in the
first
beginning
couple
of
weeks,
the first like month or so. But after that, like they're going to go on a big win streak. They're playing bad teams. They're in the worst division in football. They have the easiest record according to strength of schedule from last season. Like I just feel good about where this Falcons team is going to be in the middle of the season, heading into the last part of the regular season. And I mean, the rest of the division speaks for itself. I think you've really convinced me on Canales and on Carolina. I like Bryce Young. I liked him out of college. I still believe in him, and I think they'll win 5 games. With still a pretty terrible roster,
right?
And he'll show you something heading into next year. Not high on the Bucs, losing Canales, and obviously Todd Bowles still there. He's just terrible.
Yeah.
And Dennis Allen will be fired really quickly. They're terrible over there in New Orleans. That's about it. The rest of that division.
Yeah. Well, feeding off of that Dennis Allen take, who I accidentally called Marcus Allen last week and didn't realize until I clipped up the show. So in last place, I have the New Orleans Saints at I believe it'd be a toss-up with strength of schedule with the New England Patriots, but getting the number 1 overall pick at 3-14, the New Orleans Saints hate the Saints this year. Hate everything about the Saints. Third place, a respectable 5-12, the Carolina Panthers. Second place, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 8-9. Don't think we're getting 99th percentile Baker Mayfield again this year. And then first place at 10-7. Not 13-4, 10-7, the Atlanta Falcons. I got the Falcons going 4-2 in this division. It's a weak division, but I think I have them losing on the road to maybe definitely Tampa, and I want to say Carolina. Definitely not the Saints. That's just the way it sort of shakes up with these divisional games. And that's what I think is going to happen with what I just told you about a couple of minutes ago, is I think that this team is going to be good. They're going to get stronger as the year goes on. I think they're going to have some bumps in the road as they start. I believe I had them at like 4-5 by week 10.
Wow.
And then ending off the season, obviously 5-2. So that's how I think it's going to go for Atlanta. But I am a believer. And, if there's a division to be in where, you might have to go through some hiccups, it's this division.
Need sunglasses looking at you over
Dude,
here. I can't look at you.
We apologize for this glare. It is brutal right now.
I can't.
It's 5 o'clock right now, and
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, and it's not good.
I can't wait to read you this division.
Oh, man.
I can't wait to read you this division. In last place, the Seattle Seahawks at 6-11.
All right, we're off to a hot start.
In third place, the Arizona Cardinals 7-10. Great offense, terrible defense. In second place, the San Francisco 49ers 10-7, making the playoffs, but in second place. And the Rams win the division 11-6. JM, last year when we were doing this, and I'm pretty sure you were really high on the Eagles last year after that season, and I was like, chill out. The team that loses the Super Bowl, there's a hangover the entire season.
Yeah.
And the Eagles were defying all the odds, and they got off to an 11-1 start. And, after that, they were the worst team in football. And they finally saw that Super Bowl hangover into that playoff game where they got rolled by the Bucs. The 49ers, man. We've talked about the offensive line not being great other than Trent Williams. Trent Williams isn't playing right now.
No.
So, I can't be hypocritical because I hate the Eagles and say, they're not going to have the Super Bowl hangover. They're going to have it. And I think the Rams, they've done a good job of just building this roster the last couple of seasons back after having that terrible season after winning the Super Bowl.
Carry the show,
healthy.
Mike. I'm going to turn those lights on. Carry the show.
The Rams have rebuilt this roster. There I am. And I really love the Jared Verse pick. We'll talk about him later on. We do awards. They drafted, Kobe Turner is the defensive tackle that had a fantastic year last year right next to Aaron Donald. Sure, that'll change. But I like this Rams team.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the 49ers, when they lost the Super Bowl, they were 13-3 back the first time when they had Garoppolo. Second time, the next season, they were 6-10, but Granted, I think that was the year Garoppolo tore his ACL, right? So it's totally possible. Preview for the betting show. You saw that stat, 4-20 teams that lost the Super Bowl the year before. They're 4-20 against the spread in Week 1. So there's definitely a Super Bowl loss hangover that is real, especially in Week 1. So, Mike, you just earned that little thing of respect I lost for you before. It's back. That's a respectful take. It's a bold take, and I respect it. Last place for this, Mike. A lot of people like this team. I like their offense. I hate their defense. The Arizona Cardinals at 5-12. They're going to be fun to watch offensively. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be an absolute stud. Unfortunately, their defense is putrid. Third place, the Seattle Seahawks. I have it 8-9. New coach and Mike McDonald this year. We'll see how they do. Defensive head coach, but that doesn't, I think sometimes we read a little too far into that. Anyways,
I don't think we do. I think it's real.
Second place, the LA Rams at 9-8. Don't have them winning the division, obviously, but I do like the Rams this year. And then first place, the San Francisco 49ers, I have at 12-5. They're still loaded. They got to get this Trent Williams thing sorted out. I think of all the holdouts we've had in the NFL this year, this is the most important one. Over CeeDee Lamb, over Jamar Chase. This is the most important. He makes that offensive line so much better. He makes that offense in general so much better. It's very important. But I did go a little chalk here, Mike, and I don't have the Rams upsetting the Niners.
That's fine. Nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
All right, here are the seeds as we will get to our Super Bowl and Super Bowl winner. In the NFC, I have the Bears as the 7th seed at 9-8. The 6th seed, the 49ers at 10-7. The Packers, the 5 seed at 12-5. The Rams at 11-6. And as the 4 seed and the 3 13-win teams, the Lions 13-4, the 3 seed, the 2 seed, the Falcons 13-4, and the Eagles, the number 1 seed in the NFC, 13-4.
Wow, can't believe it. All right, my 7 seed, the LA Rams at 9-8. My 6 seed, the Chicago Bears at 9-8. My 5 seed, the Detroit Lions at 11-6. 4 seed, Atlanta Falcons 10-7. 3 seed, San Francisco 49ers 12-5. 2 seed, Green Bay Packers 12-5, and 1 seed, the Dallas Cowboys 12-5.
So we have the 1 seed from the same division, different team.
And you have 3 14-game winners and 13-game winners, and I have 0 13-game winners.
Crazy.
Read the 8 through 10, Mike. Who are the first 3 teams out?
8 through 10. Let me take a look here.
I'll read mine first. How about that?
Yeah.
So the 10 seed, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 8-9, the Seattle Seahawks at 8-9, and the 8 seed missing the playoffs, the Philadelphia Eagles at 9-8. Eagles missed the playoffs.
Well, it's really funny. They're all from the same division. Cowboys 8-9 were 8. Commanders were 9, 7-10. The Giants were 7-10. Those are 8, 9, 10. A couple other 7-10 teams like the Cardinals and the Vikings, but they ranked them here lower than those teams. So that's where I had them.
All right, conference championship.
And you had the Bears in there?
I had the Bears in there, 6 seed, 9-8.
There we go.
So my bold prediction, sticking to it from last week, 3 teams from the NFC North, and same for you, right?
Yes.
For the playoffs.
3 teams.
Okay, Mike, my conference championship.
Let's hear it.
I have an interdivisional matchup. I have the Green Bay Packers hosting the Detroit Lions in the NFC Championship game, and I have the Green Bay Packers advancing to the Super Bowl to take on the Kansas City Chiefs.
Wow, very nice. Yep. And I have the Detroit Lions going into Philadelphia and losing. The Philadelphia Eagles will be back in the Super Bowl 2 years after losing to the Chiefs.
So
they'll be back playing the Bills.
So your Super Bowl matchup is a team that I have as the 7 seed and losing in the first round of the playoffs in the Buffalo Bills, and then a team that I have missing the playoffs. If that isn't differing opinions, I don't know what it is.
It's crazy because this was a season, like, trying to predict this where, like, maybe I just have brain fog, summer into summer or whatever. I had a hard time predicting this year. But I feel good. I feel good about the Eagles, and I'm really starting to feel better about the Bills the more I talk myself into it.
Right.
Like the secondary, I don't think the secondary is going to be that bad.
Okay.
And Yeah, let's give our Super Bowl champion.
Okay. So I have a matchup of two historic organizations. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Green Bay Packers. Chiefs going for the three-peat, and the Packers, obviously, with their spoiled-ass fan base, getting another quarterback that's taking them to Super Bowls. And I have the Chiefs pulling it off. I hate to do it. I hate to go chalk, but I have the Chiefs pulling it off and going to be the first team in NFL history to complete the three-peat.
Seriously thought about it. I have so much respect for that.
Yeah.
Obviously just one of the greatest runs we've ever seen, and absolutely possible. And it's almost tough to predict against it because they've gotten better. They really
will be
have gotten
unbearable to watch if that actually does happen.
Oh,
I mean,
God,
just
the
makes
T
you think,
Swizzle.
why do I care about football? I just watch
Taylor
this crap.
Swift,
Yeah,
Travis
Taylor Swift,
Kelce, Patrick Mahomes.
oh, she's drawing up plays, Taylor Swift.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
All right, my Super Bowl, the Buffalo Bills and the Philadelphia Eagles. I'd stay away from that stadium because those fans are going to be crazy.
Yeah, holy crap.
And the Buffalo Bills get their first Super Bowl.
Wow.
They win it. Josh Allen, my guy, Super Bowl MVP. The Bills beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. I really hope if it does happen, man, you're going to look like a freaking genius.
Yeah, I will. I'll be looking like a genius, and hopefully, I mean, if the Eagles are in the Super Bowl, please,
It would.
God.
It really would be so sports of the Bills to go to the Super Bowl and win it the year that we think they have, like, maybe their worst roster.
But
that
wasn't
they've
it
had.
like that with the Chiefs? Like,
Yeah,
we
but-
didn't think they
right,
had
but
anything.
this is my whole thing is like we're comparing apples to oranges when we do that. I think we're putting Josh Allen and Sean McDermott in the same stratosphere as Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, and that's not right.
That's not the
right.
case at all.
No.
Very interesting, JM. Your Super Bowl would be very entertaining,
Yeah,
though. That would be a seriously entertaining Super Bowl.
I'm excited for these awards, Mike.
Yes, I am. And by the way, I really was close to having the Packers in the Super Bowl, and I flipped it around, and I was like, but I love the Packer pick.
I know
really
a couple
do.
people, one specifically, who are going to be very excited about that pick.
The Packers in the Super Bowl. All right. Last but not least, award prediction time. These are always tough to nail. I nailed Lamar Jackson MVP last year. Okay, just throwing that out
Mike
there.
nailed Lamar Jackson.
Whoa. Wow, that's going to get clipped up. All right, yes, but we are going to give our awards, Jam. I'll let you start. We'll go MVP. You want to start with the MVP? And then go
yeah,
down?
let's
All
just
we'll
go right for it.
Yeah.
Mike, my MVP, it goes along with how high I am on this team this year. I have Jordan Love winning the MVP this year. If you took the second half of his year last year, he's probably the MVP of the NFL. So I think he's going to build upon that. And I see him having a very good year taking care of the football. This run game should be reliable for him. I really like Jordan Love to spread the football around. The Packers could have a couple 1,000-yard receivers. Really like him. Really like him to win the MVP.
Jordan Love. Love it.
Yep.
Love it.
Thanks,
All
bro.
right. MVP, obvious, Josh Allen. He's going to win the Super Bowl. Yeah, I mean, he could have been the MVP last year, and I wouldn't have said anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was that valuable to his team down the stretch. We know what he could do with his legs. Obviously, one of the best quarterbacks just throwing the football in the league. So, I think even with these receivers that are not there anymore, I still think they're going to be productive. Dalton Kincaid's going to have a big year. Khalil Shakir made big-time plays for them down the stretch as well last season. And Keon Coleman, a rookie receiver, there's a lot of potential there. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think the addition of Curtis Samuel gets overlooked. I think he's going to have a really nice year back with Joe Brady. He had Joe Brady back in Carolina. They're back together again. And overall, Joe Brady did a good job down the stretch last season, getting James Cook more involved. That'll help Josh Allen as well. That's why I have Josh Allen winning the MVP.
Dude, you're all over the Bills. There's no secret.
Yeah.
My offensive player of the year, it's Breece Hall. It's Breece Hall. I expect him, second year removed from the injury now with a better offense, a better quarterback, a better offensive line. I really think this guy's going to have a Christian McCaffrey-esque season. I think he's going to go for over 2,000 yards all-purpose. I think he's going to score a ton of touchdowns. The talent is undeniable. He is fantastic. Love everything about Breece, and he only had like 2 goal line carries last year, which is just absurd. So expect that to go up. Expect the touchdowns to go up. There's no competition for him with touches this year. Braylon Allen's going to be a good backup. That's it. He's going to play all 3 downs. Love Breece Hall this year.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very, very
Yes,
interesting.
sir. Yes, sir.
And a spoiler for our fantasy draft tonight, by the way, I'm sure.
No.
Possibly. Who
Well, this is
knows?
coming out after, so who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully.
If he's there,
Hopefully Mike
come
gets
home,
him.
Brees.
Hopefully Mike gets him.
Yeah.
All right. My offensive player of the year tried to get a little kinky here. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Nice.
Had the Lions having a great season, a lot of indoor games.
Yes,
This
sir.
will be very good. Throwing the ball, airing it out. Amon-Ra, just a very productive player last season. I really can't see why he can't do it again, possibly be a little bit better. It almost feels too easy,
Yeah.
Mike.
Yeah. Okay.
And
All right, take it
also,
easy. Take it easy.
also, let me just say this: Jefferson not having the quarterback this year definitely gives him the ability of Marvin Harrison, maybe Malik Neighbors one day. Guys that are rookies that could be winning these awards don't have the quarterbacks and are just too young, like Marv, to do it. So I think this is kind of the year where he can, and CeeDee Lamb obviously is going to be competing for that as well, but we'll see what happens. I think Amon-Ra has a big year.
All right. Is that another fantasy preview? If he's there, you snatching him up?
I know he's not going to be there.
Oh, okay. All right, my defensive player of the year, goes again along with my predictions. I like this team this year. I got Micah Parsons getting it done. This guy's talent is ridiculous. I mean, sometimes you watch him and you're just like, how does he not have 3 sacks every game? He's just insane. They can play him all over the place. He's a freak athlete. I like Micah this year to get the sack numbers up a little bit, have a career high, and win this award, man.
There you go. The best defensive player possibly in the league.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to a Cowboy fan the other day, and they were saying trade him and get a haul back and rebuild the rest of the team and then pay Dak instead.
Stop.
That's interesting. That's a discussion for another day. I don't hate the idea, by the way.
Come on.
I don't hate the idea.
Yeah.
Trade him, get a haul back, rebuild the rest of your roster. You can't pay 3 guys $120 million.
See, while maybe that makes sense, a lot of times people forget they're the Dallas Cowboys. If you're the Carolina Panthers, you can maybe do something like that. But as the Dallas Cowboys,
But they're the Dallas Cowboys,
that's
but
a
you
lot.
have a cap
Your
space.
fans are going to hate you.
But
Your
if it
fans
means
are
re-signing Dak Prescott, you're a starting quarterback.
Bro, this is what is going on in this office today.
The
Oh,
office
good.
Here.
Now the glares will be right in our face.
Oh, we need sunglasses
Okay,
here.
hold on.
Oh, no. My defensive player of the year, again, tried to get really kinky. The first safety to win the award since Troy Polamalu in 2010, Kyle Hamilton.
Wow, that's
of
kinky,
the
bro.
Baltimore Ravens.
Holy crap.
Plus, hold on, I looked at the odds before. I'll find them again. Plus 4,000, plus 3,000 on some books. We'll go back to the Ravens. I had a Raven win last year in one of my big predictions. We'll have it again. Hamilton's a fantastic player, and he got exposed big time in that playoff game against the Chiefs. Kelsey took him to town, especially on that one touchdown. So, revenge tour for Kyle Hamilton, who's already a fantastic player.
Okay, Mike, offensive rookie of the year. Call me chalk. I don't care. Caleb Williams is going to win the offensive rookie of the year. This team's going to the playoffs. It's going to be because of Caleb Williams. He is going to have a C.J. Stroud-esque rookie season. The guy is ridiculously talented. He's the number 1 overall pick. He's going to do it. If you're a quarterback in your rookie year and you put up respectable numbers, you're probably going to win the offensive rookie of the year, and that's what's going to happen with Caleb Williams. I think that Malik Neighbors is going to have a really good rookie season. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to have a really good rookie season, but unfortunately they are not quarterbacks. Caleb Williams is a quarterback. He's going to have a good year and win the offensive rookie of the year.
So when Saquon won the rookie of the year, he had obviously a very good season, and Baker also had a really good year. I mean, didn't he break the record at the time for the most touchdowns by a rookie quarterback? I'm pretty sure he
was
did.
close, I think. I don't think he might have. I'm not sure.
He still it's been broken obviously so many times.
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
But he had a really good season, and yet he didn't win. It was Saquon. And while I love Caleb Williams and think he's going to be one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the league very, very soon, the rookie quarterback, and I don't necessarily think it's going to be instant like we saw last year. He'll have a good season, get them to the playoffs, but I don't think it'll be the instant elite success we saw from a guy like C.J. Stroud. I have Marvin Harrison, the other chalk pick. I just think he has just we're going to be talking about him as not the rookie wide receiver, but just one of the top receivers in the league.
Yeah.
And,
He's gonna have a Chase Jefferson kind of rookie season.
and then that's what, especially with the quarterback play. I'd love to say that about Neighbors. I just can't trust he's going to have the quarterback play. He's as talented,
Right.
but Marv has the quarterback.
Yes,
He has
exactly.
Kyler Murray, who I think is going to
Exactly.
have a really good season.
Exactly.
And that's why he's going to be the offensive rookie of the year.
Okay, last award, the defensive rookie of the year. I think I heard your pick before when you were talking about the Rams. Mike, so it's the same, but it's different. I have a rookie on the Rams, but it is not Jared Verse. It is Braden Fisk. Listen, this guy, second round pick for the Rams. He's going to be playing like an interior defensive end, 3-4 technique kind of a thing. This is the guy who was turning heads at the combine because he's a defensive lineman. He's running like 4.78 as an interior defensive lineman. He's a freak athlete. Aaron Donald is being replaced this year. He's no longer there. They need somebody to step up. I think Verse is going to be good. I got a feeling about this kid, Braden Fisk, though, that I think he's just going to get unleashed on this Rams defense. He's going to have a really,
Well, they're going to help each other out.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yep.
One of these guys help each other out. I
Yep.
do have Verse. Very interesting pick there. Yeah, I'll go Verse. I think that he's going to step up. He was one of the better defensive players. In the draft, he goes 19, obviously really heavy offensive draft.
That's the thing is picking this, like, there's not a lot of great defensive players that came out of this draft. It was a very offensive heavy one. So I decided to get a little creative here.
I love it. Very
All right,
nice.
bro.
That's it. That's gonna wrap us up. We're about to go do a big time fantasy football draft, but we appreciate you guys sticking through and watching the preview show. Check out the gambling show coming out later in the week, and next week a full recap of all of the NFL games after James in San Francisco. We'll talk to you guys later in the week.